Welcome everyone to a truncated Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night conversation. I have with me Phil Gruber. Hey, Phil.
Hi.
You in Singapore?
I am in Singapore. Yes, I am.
Okay, well, welcome. And, we want to have you back in October when we can have you for the whole 90 minutes. But let me tell people a little bit about Phil. Phil Gruber's passion, enthusiasm, kind spirit, sparkling wit, and intelligence has made him a much-loved, respected, and in-demand speaker worldwide. And you can reach him at philgruber153@hotmail.com. He also has a website, mostseminars.com. So, Phil is he knows a lot about everything. Last time you were with us, I think you talked about the rainbow children. And I can't.
Yeah, I probably did. I talk about the indigo children a lot.
Got the color wrong, but yeah. So
Yes. I
I'm
could
not going
talk
to say.
about. I just spent a lot of time in West Hollywood, so I could talk
Oh,
about the rainbow children too. I could talk about the Rainbow Alliance also.
whatever you want. You've got the floor, but we are going to have you back in October. So
That'd be wonderful, yeah.
You've got the floor, and I'm going to just turn off my spotlight, and it's over to you, my dear friend.
Oh, meaning me. Oh, thank you so much. Well, it's funny that a lot of people think that the indigo children is that their day is finished, that they was like, been there, done that. It's yesterday's news. But the fact is, understanding the phenomenon of the indigo children, no matter what they're called, they are known as the rainbow children. They're known as psychic, as super psychic children, mythic, magical, mystery children, sons and daughters of God, B'nai Or, B'nai Elo, so many names, Melchizedek's names I can't even pronounce, children of the Blue Ray Kachina. But the fact is, it's even more important and significant now that we understand who we are, where we come from, why we're here, and what our purpose for being in the world is now. In October, when we have more time, I'd like to talk about soul contracts. I like it because there's a lot of people, why am I here? Why did I incarnate at this particular time? What's my purpose here? Well, some people feel they're here. They think a term that I hear a lot is flame holders or flame keepers or placeholders, that I'm here to hold the grid steady, or I'm here to hold divine knowledge, or this or that or the other. There are certain roles we came to play. There's no doubt about it. Before we incarnated here, choices we made. And I believe that knowing what these choices are really helps us in fulfilling our soul's purpose here. There's no doubt about it. It's funny. I have a tendency when you ask me like the first question, I could go on for hours, but I'm trying to be a better listener, and I'm trying to have these interviews and these presentations be more conversational. Is there anything when you talk to your people, is there anything that they're more curious about than other things?
Absolutely. And I think Victoria was bringing that up. And it's about change. You said some weird things were kind of happening in Singapore, and there's been a lot of geological change that are going about. And so what is the energy, as Victoria says, I'd like to know what energy is afoot at the moment. We talk about this as a tipping point,
Yeah.
the new paradigm. So what do you see in your, from your sources,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
What I'm getting that we're in a cycle, we're in a planetary cycle that many people call a stellar bridge or a stellar activation cycle. That's starting in around the late 80s. There's been an alignment of interdimensional stargates. This is very important to understand that all planets, all stars at their cores, there are stargates. Stargates are sets of black and white holes. Everybody knows about black holes somewhat, that you go into the black hole, you get sucked in, and what happens then? Well, at the end of every black hole is a white hole. You have a magnetic black hole, and then you have an electrical white hole. What stargates really are sets of these black and white holes. And every so often in a planet's evolution, there are time periods where interdimensional stargates, these portals line up. And what happens as a result of that is higher and higher dimensional frequency cycle from higher universes, okay? Higher frequencies cycle through these stargates onto the Earth and into us. Now, we've just completed a cycle where when the energies, the frequencies coming from the higher universes, the higher dimensions, come into the Earth, the major vortexes on the planet have to open to receive these energies. If they don't, it can cause major, what we call compaction, planetary compaction, where you have major Earth changes, weather changes, changes in our DNA, volcanoes, earthquakes, that type of thing. So there are 7 major vortices on the planet that during this cycle, they have to open and stay open for a few years to allow this energy to come in. Now, the first one to open of the 7 major vortices, we believe, was the Painted Desert in Arizona. And they stay open for about 4 years or so. A lot of people think it's Sedona. Sedona is very powerful. It's a secondary vortex, but very powerful. Painted Desert, the First Nations, Native Americans there, they know it's the Painted Desert. And the reason it's not advertised so much, because they just don't want the Painted Desert trashed, you know? They don't want people to leave a lot of, you know, they much rather keep it more secret. The Hopi Nation, it's very close to the Hopi reservation there. And they value their sovereignty. And they said, okay, let everybody go. And Sedona is very powerful. There's no doubt about it. But Painted Desert was the first one. The second one is Jerusalem, Israel. Okay. Now, that opened up in about 87, about in the early 90s. We can't be exact about the dates, but we're very close. The third is, I think it's north of Tibet in the Kunlun mountain range, north of Tibet, which I'd love to take a group one day, because it would just be really amazing. You have to be helicoptered in and helicoptered out, just dropped in for like 7-10 days, set up some yurts. And this is the kind of trip where you'd have to sign a disclaimer. Not everybody might come back from that one. And I mean that in a good way, you know. Now, the fourth one at 2000, Giza. This is why a lot of people were, I remember around 2009, late 99, 2000, a lot of people had the desire to go to Egypt. And there is a reason for that. Groups go there to help to participate in the opening of these vortexes. Again, these planetary chakras, the vortexes, have to open. The seals have to open so that the chakra can open to receive these energies coming in through the stellar bridge, which again is an alignment of interdimensional stargates through which higher and higher energy frequency consciousness is cycling through onto the Earth and through us. Why? This is the ascension. This is the shift. This is the shift of the ages. This is the ascension cycle. Now, the fifth is, that was about a 2000. 2004, the Machu Picchu vortex opens, and they have to open and stay open for that complete time, okay? Interestingly enough, there are sites on the planet that are paired with these planetary vortexes. The site that is paired with Machu Picchu is the Vatican in Rome, which is really interesting because a lot of people do feel that Machu Picchu was a center of divine feminine energy. A nunnery was really a center of Mary Magdalene type energy. And I would love to talk about that in October too, because it's all connected. The beautiful thing about this is that the more you understand about the indigos, the more you understand about the ascension cycle, the more you understand about Mary Magdalene, the more you understand about the Christ and the Krystos. This is the stuff I wanted to talk about today, which I can actually really do the intro to, that this is the time. This is the time, again, we've all been waiting for, of all the worlds and all the times to incarnate into. We've chosen this one because the planet is going through these changes, and the hope is really for the ascension of the entire planet. Well, the site that is paired with Machu Picchu is the Vatican, and in that weekend, in I think it was June 2000, there was a Venus transit. It was timed with the Venus transit. President Bush, a lot of his top advisors, these Bilderberger types, these elite types, they were meeting at a site outside of Rome on that particular weekend. And a lot of people think that they were pulsing magnetic pulses or doing whatever they do into the Machu Picchu vortex from the Vatican to stop its opening. Because whatever digressive consciousness there are, let's face it, we don't focus on them, but there are groups that have different agendas, let's say. And in stopping the opening of the Machu Picchu vortex, there would have been massive, massive earth changes. There may have been, the poles are still migrating on a daily basis, trying to adapt, to adjust to these new energies coming in. There might have been full magnetic pole reversal. Remember, these books came out about 2000, the next ice age or this or that. Well, these things can happen during these cycles. And it's very important to note that we believe that the original human race was created to be guardians and custodians of the interdimensional stargates. This is very, very important because if you have control of the planetary stargates, they allow access to the interdimensional stargates, which we call the Templar. Whatever your agenda is, it's very, very important. You really want to be in control or to have custody of or stewardship of the planetary stargates. I'll mention this really quickly before I get to the other vortices, that a lot of people do see the 1111 on the clock. I have a theory about why people see 1111. Almost every 9 out of 10 people, actually 11 out of 10 people I talk to have, because one of them is usually pretty skitsy. So no, really 9 out of 10. It's amazing that I can be so funny so early in the morning. I have to think about it. No, some of this stuff is so dense, it's so thick. You really have to have a sense of humor along with this but again, people feel that they just, if you have a knowledge base to understand what's happening on the planet, then you can be more of service to the planet, because why are we here if not to be of sincere and dedicated service? The work you're doing, the co-creators, I mean, it really isn't all the work we're doing to really try to help people understand what they're doing here, what our relationship to source is, what our relationship to each other. It's wonderful to be able to have this knowledge and to be able to be in a position to share it. That's the whole idea. So luckily, we feel they were pulsing magnetic pulses to stop the opening. And every time these vortexes can't open on time, you can have massive earth changes in our DNA, horrible things, full magnetic pole reversal. Everything on the surface is literally vaporized. And that's happened many times. You can see it in the geological record. Okay, the 7th, that's the 5th. The 6th, now this is the interesting one, is in Russia in the Caucasus. And we'll talk about that in a minute, why this is very important for right now. 7th is Lake Titicaca. in Peru. Now, they have finished their opening cycles, okay, where the vortexes, the seals of the vortex, this could very well be the seven seals that St. John is talking about. These seven seals, the seals over these vortexes that need to open like ribbons, and then the vortexes can open to receive these energies, which is meant to accelerate the planet, to accelerate us, to bring us to our next stage in our evolution. The evolutionary path of human consciousness is the greatest thing. The evolution, our path, the path of grace, the path of love, the path of the law of one, is all leading us to ascension. We're built to ascend at these periods. If everybody doesn't make it during these periods, some do make it out, some individuals, some groups, they understand the process of ascension. What the information we're getting now is not unlike the information that was available in the old mystery ascension schools. And we're given all this information so much so soon. You know, in the old days, as you know, you used to have to be in these ascension schools for years or decades or lifetimes. But we're getting all this now, so it's very, very important that we can act as way showers, as these, as the Christ would put it, as these revealing vehicles. The reason the Marys, this is a little bit preview of coming attractions, the reason the Marys were chosen, and Mary Magdalene and all the Marys were chosen to be these special temple priestesses and these revealing vehicles, these pathfinders, these way showers, was because of their genetics. The tribe of Benjamin, who was looked down by all the other tribes as the, what do they call them? It's a very bad name. The abominations, was because there are a lot of Benjamins in Galilee, places like that, in Nazareth. The thing that distinguishes the Benjamins, especially the women, they are the product of the Nephilim, the Anunnaki, and human females. When Nephilim, fallen angelics, and Anunnaki types, when they would be with human women, the product of that were called the Raelim. And the Raelim actually were the ancestors of the Benjamin tribe. The reason these women were chosen for such exalted positions in the sacred temples, temples of sacred sexuality, because they had expanded genetic codes, because they were hybrids of Nephilim and human females. So within their own bodies, they could create special, very exotic biochemistries, ascension elements. So when you wanted a taste of ascension, you would go into these sacred temples, to the Holy of Holies, to the Hole of Holes, and you would get a taste of the Krystos initiated by these women because they had these special gene codes. And that even relates to the indigos too, because many or maybe all of the indigos are incarnates of what we call the Magi Arthurian Grail lines, the Grail lines, genetic lines of the Krystos. And we're here for very, very special reasons. When you come into incarnation here, from whatever universe you see, I believe that a lot of us, or most of us, have come from the future. Past lives, I think there's some confusion here. Now, it's another conversation that we'll probably get into in October. Every soul identity, every angelic sends 12 parts of itself into our third dimensional universe. They inhabit what's called the second harmonic universe, dimensions 4, 5, and 6. But every soul will project or send 12 aspects of itself as an incarnational or a soul family to the next lower harmonic universe. That's us, that's you and 12 others, me and 12 others, anyone who's listening, and 12 others. Now, we choose what time and space we want to incarnate into. So we have a solar incarnational family of 12, and many or most of those have chosen other times, which relative to us would be in our past. They're not our past lives. There are simultaneous selves that chose past times relative to our present time. I'm not saying that there can't be past lives or in previous incarnational cycles, but just think, consider that what a lot of people view as past lives, because we're getting in dimensional bleed through now, we're getting bleed through of consciousness from parallel selves, simultaneous selves in our past, on other planets. They're not necessarily our past lives. They are simultaneous selves. So it's an interesting concept, and we'll talk about more too. So everything really is all connected. The sixth vortex again is Russia, the Caucasus. The seventh is Lake Titicaca in Peru. Now they finished their opening cycle. Now the energies are still coming through, as long as there is this stellar alignment of interdimensional stargates, which are central suns of higher universes. All these central suns with major stargates at their core. Oh yeah, the 1111 really quick. So I believe I come from the future. I believe this past journey, I started in 11th dimensional Lyra or Lyra. Now, 11th dimensional Lyra is in the Krystos. We call it harmonic universe 4, dimensions 10, 11, and 12, the Krystos. 11th dimensional Lyra used to be a place or planet that they used to call Avion, Aveyon. I believe that because of misspelling and semantic depletion and whatnot, mainly misspelling, Avion has become Avalon. Avalon. So true Avalon, Camelot, is 11th dimensional Lyra. If we decided this last incarnational journey to start in Lyra, in Avalon, that's the mists of Avalon, remember? Or the liquid light pre-matter consciousness of dimensions 10, 11, and 12. It's so beautiful. And Glastonbury, and actually I'll be speaking in Glastonbury later this month. There's a Portal to Ascension conference in Glastonbury. A lot of wonderful speakers, Laura Eisenhower, Flo Karuna, many others. That's the last weekend in September. And I love Glastonbury. Of all the places in the world, there are very few places I feel at home, and one of them is the Abbey at Glastonbury. I go there with my little harp, and I feel such peace there. It's amazing. Now the vortexes begin to close just as they opened and needed to open on schedule. They need to close, and the first one that opens is the last to close. So in 2042, 2046, 2047, the Painted Desert will close. They close in reverse order that they opened. So the first one that began to close was the Lake Titicaca vortex. That ended its closing cycle in 2017. What you have now, 2017 to 2021. What you have now, and this is what I wanted to bring up, the vortex that needs to close now, close completely, is its epicenter is in Russia, but guess where the secondary vortexes are? Just take a wild guess why there's so much conflict in the
Ukraine.
world. No,
No?
Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine. What I said.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
You realize, and when you look at the location of these stargates, when you look at the location of, there were wars, the Earth has been a staging ground for interdimensional conflicts for millions, if not billions of years. That vortex has to open close just as it needed to open, it needed to close properly, or massive changes can happen. So this is why when you look at the whole history, the drama of conflict going back millions and millions of years, you realize that it's for control, possession of these stargates. Because again, if you have control of the Earth stargates, you have control of the interdimensional stargates. So whatever your agenda is, if it's for cooperative, if it's for the evolution of all races, if it's for positive, cooperation, that's fine. If there are other agendas, you still want the stargates here. Earth is a very important planet. Earth has gates all over the place. We have those same gates. They're called in Kabbalistic studies the gates of light. All this stuff is opening now. You remember the immortal crystals. And the most beautiful of the crystals is when you project thoughts of forgiveness and gratitude. love in the form of forgiveness and gratitude. And you see how much light it can hold and light it can radiate because of its complex geometrical structure. So I put it out to everybody listening, and we'll go into more of this in October, that if you become the living embodiments of forgiveness and you really practice forgiveness and gratitude, every crystal and microcrystal in your body will be able to hold and radiate that light. That is how the Christ referred to all the Marys, Mary Magdalene, as having the effulgence of light. That's when you become a presence healer. That's when you can hold and radiate such light that you don't need you don't need your Reiki certification or electromagnetic healing. You heal by your presence alone. Now, if the Russian-Ukrainian vortex closes properly, then you just go in reverse order. You have the Machu Picchu has to close properly. The Tibet has to close properly. Jerusalem and the Painted Desert. And I've talked to remote viewers, and there can be potential conflict in all these areas. Let's say the Russian-Ukrainian vortex closes properly. Then you have the 6th, 5th. Then you have the Machu Picchu. There's a lot of instability in South America now, which can touch Peru. Then you have Tibet, and of course you have the Tibet-Chinese conflict there. Then, of course, Jerusalem is the second one. Jerusalem, in a way, controls the emotional body of the entire planet and us. That real estate, as everybody knows, has been contested for centuries, millennia, actually millions, if not billions of years. Remember, in our paradigm, and I know I have only 7 minutes here, but this is good. I got to touch on this. Legend has it that 950, and thank you, Cindy. Cindy saved the day. 950, Cindy somehow got through to me. I think because she got through to me, all of a sudden, what was interrupting the signal, through her intervention, she acted as like a step-down transformer. And all of a sudden, the lights came on again. You know, the lights were out. Everything, the power was out. And when Cindy intervened, through Cindy, the lights came on again. And as you know, in talking with, you've probably talked with Cindy this hour, right? She is just, I don't think there's a word in English I can describe Cindy.
Well, we've adopted her, so.
She's full of it in a good way. She's just full of love and enthusiasm and connections. She's just amazing. Anyway, you see that there are all these areas of conflict. And even when you get to 2042, 2047, I've talked to remote viewers, there seems to be a firewall. They can't see past 2047. And that date keeps coming up with a lot of psychic mediums and channels. And remember those maps, how the US was going to be broken up, like in the 2000s? That last vortex that needs to close is in the Painted Desert. If that doesn't close, you could see America could start to split up. You know, I remember those maps a long time ago at the consciousness fairs and the New Life Expos. There were people, psychics, who had seen how the US was going to be divided as early as the 2030s, 2040s. Our information is that 950 billion years ago, as Carl Sagan would say, 950 billion years ago, there was an agreement made by very, very high dimensional beings. We call them the Rishi, the Brenau Rishi. These are beings of pure light, pure waveform consciousness, pure living light. They decided that life would be allowed to evolve cooperatively and co-creatively in our particular time matrix. That agreement was called the Emerald Covenant. And it's been restated many times: root races, cloister races, seedings of the human race, an attempt to seed certain race lines on this planet, especially after the fall, to regain our full genetic potential. The Emerald Covenant, the Wizard of Oz, when you look at the history of L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, 14 original Oz books, 14 Stations of the Cross, 14 rare earth elements. L. Frank Baum and his wife joined the Theosophical Society in Chicago in 1892. If you look at The Wizard of Oz through a a real true metaphysical theosophical filter. Dorothy, Theodoro, Daron Theos, gift of God, her voyages in Oz actually form a geometrical, it forms a tetrahedron, actually. It's amazing. And a lot of it was about this fulfillment of the Emerald Covenant. It's been restated many times. Even the coming of the Indigos is another restatement of this ancient covenant in the hope that we could evolve cooperatively and co-creatively. So, in answer to your, that's the answer to your question. I told you I can go on and on with this, but that's what's happening on the planet now. We're in a shift. We're in an ascension cycle. And the more we know about it, the more we increase our knowledge base, understand what's going on an intellectual level. Yes, the knowledge is very important, but to feel it also, I would recommend, here's probably the best advice I could give anybody in this last couple of minutes. The solar plexus, the reason it's so important, the reason it's fully formed even for our brains in utero is because the solar plexus is the gate to the subconscious. The solar plexus, if you want to, you know how they always say in manifestation, abundance, prosperity, work, that you have to feel it to create it. No, remember? Well, to access the depth of emotion, it's not the heart that controls it, it's the solar plexus. If you want to access the depth of emotion in order to manifest your heart's desire, you have to awaken the solar plexus. The solar plexus, look at the master key, Charles Haanel, 1916, 1919. He said right then and there that the solar plexus is the key, and it is the he talked about that the great secret of life is in the coordination of two very special sacred centers. He was talking about the solar plexus and the brain, that the great secret of life is in the coordination of the solar plexus and the brain. How do you coordinate them? How do you get them in the same place? It's gratitude. All the early New Thought authors, the source material for The Secret, they knew that gratitude was just more than giving thanks, which is, of course, very important. Gratitude is a magnetic force that unites your brain and your solar plexus in the heart space. In my book, forgiveness and true gratitude are the most powerful forces for healing on the planet. There's no doubt about it. And if you want to access the depth of emotion needed to manifest or to change a subconscious program, you've got to go through the solar plexus. The fact is that a lot of people, through dumbing down and environmental poisons and toxins, just because the solar plexus can provide the instructions for the creation of these neurohormones and neurotransmitters, the translation of which is the emotion we feel, they have to dock into the brain in receptor sites, but they're usually blocked from their receptor sites because of things like fluoride, chlorine, environmental toxins. And so there's a pamphlet that was written in 1918. It's very easy to find. Cindy, somebody out there may even have the link. If you go to Google and you search on solar plexus PDF, you will find a scanned copy of a little pamphlet that was written in 1918 by William Walker Atkinson, in one of his aliases, Theron Q. Dumont, because he probably wasn't allowed to publish this information under his real name, because they were all members, all these source the Secret and all that, they were members of all occult lodges, male and female. That gives the solar plexus breathing, which is just deep abdominal breathing. It can make all the change in the world if we just learn to breathe properly, think properly, use the master key. Why do most things fail? Personal spiritual development, because we can't control our thoughts. So I can give any gift, which is the greatest gift before we have to leave, is to look into the master key. 24 weeks, 24 lessons, the master key, Haanel, Haanel, teaches to control thoughts. And the solar plexus, all this can be found scanned PDF copies on the internet. That and the work on the solar plexus You can change your state. If you get into a relationship with your solar plexus, you get good at this. You can actually tell your solar plexus how you want to feel and what you want to manifest. That's how powerful it is. That's how powerful we are. And that's how powerful we are going to become when we understand why we're here and what our purpose is. Yeah.
I'm going to put it in gallery view here, and everybody can mute if you want. And I know Bob definitely has to go. I can stay on for just a few minutes. If you want to unmute and ask a question or a comment.
Well, inquiring minds want to know, you mentioned the dates of when each of the first 5 vortices opened, but when did 6 open? When did 7 open? I missed that.
Okay. Let me see. I'm a little rusty on the dates. Give me just a second here.
Well, that could be why. We didn't meet
2000,
yet.
the 5th Machu Picchu was 2004.
Okay, got that one.
Russia, the Caucasus was 2008. And the 7th was 2012. They stay open for about 4 years and then they flip. The last one to open is the first one to close. So the closing of the Lake Titicaca vortex was 2017 to 21. Now the Russian-Ukrainian vortex chakra hasn't, I don't believe, finished closing. You know,
Thank you.
and so a lot is going to depend on this election in November. I'm not going to say anything more than that. There's, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, as soon as
Except
we're
that I
all
will tell
recording, you
you,
can tell us.
except that I will tell you that I met Trump a couple of times, and I told him that he smelled really good. And I asked him what he was wearing. This true story. You know what he told me? He said you couldn't afford it. And
Oh, you're kidding.
and he was joking, but the fact is it was Hermes and I can't afford it. At least I was back then. Just so you know, I offer lots of classes privately, semi-privately, personal mentorships. I do readings. I do all sorts of stuff. I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm in the know, you know? I know what's going on in the world. But you know, I'm telling you, if you see what movies are out, little bits of whatever the agendas are, they come through in movies, they come through in popular culture,
Yeah. Mhm,
you know?
mhm.
I was
There's
just
no
trying
doubt
to
about it.
find Mists of Avalon. It's not available. Yeah.
Really, it's out of print. I'm sure you can find it on
Oh,
Amazon.
I'm sorry, I meant the movie. But I was looking
Ah,
on video it said that it was on Prime Video, and then it says the title's not available in the United States. Interesting.
I'm
And
sure with a little looking you can find most things. There are a lot of things that are out of print now, but just with a little looking, I think you can probably find it.
and with
Yeah.
William Walker Atkinson, it says that he wrote under his writings. Here it is. Titles written under his name, and then titles written under pseudonyms.
Yeah, he wrote under Yogi Ramakrishna or something.
Yep.
Theron Q. Demont is where he wrote the solar plexus pamphlet.
Okay.
Pamphlet,
Theron Q. Demont. Okay, got it.
that little solar plexus pamphlet is worth its weight in gold,
Okay.
Yeah,
worth its weight in root canal surgery. Did you see how much they charge for root canals these days?
OMG, yeah.
Unbelievable, right? So it's when you can get into a relationship with your solar plexus, this is a key. And this is why I don't know why the law of attraction, why the talking heads and the spin doc, I don't know why they don't mention there's not one of these coaches that gets into the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is the real key to making the law of attraction work, because
And
if
that's
it's
why.
you have to feel it. You can only feel it to the extent that your solar plexus is awake and you have a conscious relationship with your solar plexus. That's how important it is. When you have a gut feeling, go with it. Haven't we all always regretted not going with our gut? Is there even one example of when we didn't go with a gut feeling that we didn't live to regret it? You know, because before it gets to your brain and it gets all jumbled and everything, go with, because your solar plexus is the gate to the unconscious, the subconscious, and what they call the universal treasury. Charles Haanel, the master key, take 24 weeks and do it when you're out the other side, everything will change. This whole hologram will change in relationship to your newer, higher perspective. And the fact that we can finally control our thoughts. I think it sabotages or compromises any well-intentioned systems of healing or personal development. The fact that we simply can't control our thoughts. Yeah. That's why it's one of the greatest gifts ever being given to us is the master key. Many of those writings, whenever I have an argument with my wife, I used to go on these buying sprees on eBay, but I have a whole cabinet and I wouldn't even open them for months. We used to fight a lot in those days. But because of our fights, I've accumulated a whole library of first edition Law of Attraction books. And there's a lot in those books that still hasn't been taught publicly. Except for
Wow.
me. I
Wow.
know. You know,
I want to look through your
really,
books.
really remember these New Thought authors, they were former transcendentalists. They were all members of occult secret. They were all either Masons, Rosicrucians, mystical Christians, male and female alike, all members of secret lodges, and they had to get permission from their lodges to share this. And still, a lot of it hasn't been shared publicly because I don't think either they don't know it or are not willing to share. Who wouldn't be willing to share this? I just don't think they know it. I don't think they've gone deep enough into the original Law of Attraction teachings to really understand what's involved. And it all goes back to the solar plexus. Just read the Master Key Lesson 1 of Charles Haanel's Master Key. It's right there. The importance, he says it's the great secret of life, not a great secret. The great secret of life is bringing your brain and your solar plexus together in the heart. And you do that by the magnetic attraction of gratitude. And you look at the immortal crystals, they hold and radiate the most light. We can do that too. We can help illuminate all the darkest corners of creation. We can bring everything back into the light.
Mm.
And we can be conscious co-creators. I mean, we are master manifestors, but a lot of that is unconscious. That's why I think it's so beautiful. It's all about co-creation, conscious co-creation, right?
Right.
Being conscious
Right.
co-creators. So that's a good way to end it, I guess. And it is a convergence. We're all coming together. It's a convergence of all those that are coming into conscious cooperation with their higher selves through love, through forgiveness, through gratitude, kindness, compassion, taking responsibility. And events and portals like these that bring all of us together. So God bless you, Noel and Bob, Noel, Bob, Noel, Bob, and all the conscious co-creators out there. I think hope springs eternal. It's the only thing that didn't escape from Pandora's box, was hope. And there's a reason for that.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
You're
That
very
was-
welcome. That was
that-
pretty good.
That was a really good speed, speak.
I tell you.
Well,
It's not
thank
too
you.
late, Cindy. You can be like a cheerleader. Any football team that you cheerlead for, they're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Aw, what a nice thing to say. You're the best, Phil.
Well, I'm definitely, listen, I definitely, it's great to know what you're here to do. It may change. I might study ballet next year. I mean, who knows? Well, not with my back, but
I always love when you bring up the Wizard of Oz.
I know if you really are walking the path that you're meant to walk, everything will be given to you. And I think the secret is not to ask for more, and also at the same time not to settle for less. Everything we need will be given to us, really, once we find that path. Many of us have. That can change. Truth may be the most elusive of all things and transient, but what we believe to be true now, and we act on it. And just to be, a lot of people out there, most humans, just need to be good, honest, decent people, and they'll go up in the ascension. They'll go up in the raptures. It's only their unresolved karma that keeps them anchored to the earth plane. So if we understand more about karma, if we understand more about the process of co-creation, a lot of us, some of us come in, we're the first team, we kind of set things up for the raptures, but all most people really need to do is just be the best version of themselves, you know, that expression, and just be
Yes.
good, honest, kind, compassionate people who understand the art of forgiveness. It's not about blame, it's for giving. What do you have to release to be a channel through which grace can move through you into the world? And how do you forgive? You say, I'm sorry, you apologize. Apology comes from the ancient word, means not many, apollo. So when you apologize, you reaffirm oneness. And when you reaffirm oneness enough, you become the living embodiment of oneness. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. It's like a lot of the things I teach. If you become one with the cosmic, it's one of our affirmations. I am one with the cosmic mind. Well, if you actually become the living embodiment of that, you're my teacher. You know, it's game over, right? Where do you go when you're one with the cosmic mind? That's it. You made it. You know, so my job really is to, we're all in this together. I may know some things you don't know. When the toilet gets stopped up, what's all my ascension knowledge? I got to call the plumber. We all have our roles to play in this world,
Yep.
and none
Chop
of
wood and
them.
carry water.
If you're on your way to a workshop and your car breaks down, well, what good is all you know, you can talk about the races, galactic history and everything, but you're on the side of the road. You got to call up the AAA or whatever it is. So we all have our place. We all have our work cut out for us. We just need to know better what that work is. And in October, I'll talk about some of these soul contracts, flame holders, flame keepers,
That will be
more about the
really, really,
Krystos,
really awesome.
some exercises, maybe a really cool meditation. And then if anybody wants more information, they can write me, you know, and I always do my best to answer back. The power is on and it stayed on now. It's really cool.
That's Cindy's
There
power.
were cars that were stopped in the road. There were cars that were literally stopped.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay,
And
so I
joggers.
want to say that
Yeah.
Phil's email address is philgruber153@hotmail.com. So thank you, Phil,
Thanks, Phil.
and
You're
Cindy.
so
You
welcome.
co-created a beautiful evening for us.
Oh,
I love it, and I took as many notes as I could. You can
and
save the
thank you
chat
for
if
that
you want.
too.
Yeah. So we're a
Cool.
team, baby. We're a team.
It's
Yeah,
Ganesh's
thank you very
birthday
much.
really soon.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's today, tomorrow.
cool.
I don't know, in Singapore, I don't know what time it is, but yeah, it's to give
It's
thanks.
9:44 a.m.
So
To
Ganesh
give thanks
removed
of
all
all the
obstacles.
gifts of spirit, all these
Oh,
gifts to give
thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you, and thank you, please, co-creators convergence. Thank you so much for
It's our honor. We love having you
putting up
here,
with me.
Phil. I
Thank you.
didn't even get upset. Where's my guest? I said, it's Phil. I love him. He's gonna, you know.
That's
Now, you know this as a little side note, you know, I'm usually always on time, if not early. Okay,
Yes.
very big
So I
on
said,
time.
they were just loving on you.
Okay,
yeah.
so thank you so much. I'm really
Thank
happy
you.
that
All
we
right.
got
Good
together
night,
today. We'll see you in
everyone.
October. Okay,
Good night, all.
Love
May
you.
peace prevail on earth.
lots of love
Thank
to
you
you
so
Great to
all.
you guys.
Okay?
And Phil, you know I love you.
I love you too. Love you all.